Hey everyone, this is Corey with Stafford ZDC, and today we're taking a look at the Takcom Knives Grunt. You can see this is obviously an out the front automatic. This also has a seatbelt cutter on the back, which is one of its prominent features that they mention here on the website. I'm not sure exactly where these are available, but I'm looking at it right now on Takcom's website, and these are $229 and change, so we'll call it $230. And for $230, you're getting an aluminum handled out the front, which is pretty typical for most OTFs. M390 blade steel, your choice of a drop point or a sheep's foot blade, 3.07 inches. Handle length is 5.19 inches, so plenty of room for even my large-sized hands here. You can see there's multiple ways to hold this, and my hand fits pretty well on all of them. You have an 8.26-inch overall length and a blade stock thickness of 0.12. Your total weight on this guy is 4.4 ounces as well. In terms of out the front, that's pretty typical. This is a nice size, and everything else is pretty standard. So I'm not going to get too much into the size or shape or anything like that, but we'll go right into carry and use. Now, out the fronts and other switchblades were legalized in Pennsylvania just over a year ago at this point. I'm currently filming this on March 1st of 2024. January 11th or something like that of 2023 was when the Switchblade ban was lifted here in PA. And that was a big win for Knife Rights, which is a great organization. If you don't know about them, feel free to look them up. They take care of a lot of knife laws. They lobby for, us to be able to carry these kinds of things in our states that might ban them for really no reason. But anyway, that's not here nor there. This guy, in terms of use, was just fine. It's out the fronts are something that I don't love using. I kind of get tired of the switch. It just isn't my thing. Not my preferred deployment method. But, it obviously works. This fires really hard. I did have this come off the track one time when firing it, and I don't know exactly what happened. I had been playing with it a little bit, just kind of doing a normal in and out. And what happened was I went to deploy it, and I kind of slipped right at that juncture, right at that point where it catches to deploy. And the switch went back down, but the blade started to deploy. So I essentially had this happen, which I just knocked it off the track on purpose there just to show you. But that's essentially what happened. You can see now it's off the track. If you ever need to fix one of these, you just pull that blade out until you hear the click, and then it works just fine. But yeah, that happened once. I never had any issues with it otherwise. So I'm not going to hold that against this at all. That could pretty much happen to anything. Any companies out the front. I've heard people having issues just playing with their Microtechs, other companies as well. But the M390 blade was nice and decent for performance. You have a flat grind that's not entirely super thin, but it was fine. It did everything that I needed it to do just fine. Hate to continue to use that word. But it wasn't superior at anything, but it wasn't bad. I talk a lot about geometry on this channel, about how I think an edge is too thick or a grind's too thick. And yeah, this is probably thicker than most average knives would be. Definitely thicker than I like, but it works for everyday carry. Obviously, there's not many instances where you need super thin and slicey blade stock. That just helps. I personally think it's a more enjoyable cutting experience when you have very thin blade stock and a very thin grind. But nevertheless, this works totally fine. And it's going to be able to take a little more abuse and a little more hard use because of that. So that is something that, is worth keeping in mind. You're going to have a lot more edge stability coming from a grind like this. The handles have a nice texture on them here. You can see there's some diagonal milling, which is kind of not unidirectional because it's chamfered on one edge, but it provides some substantial grip in this direction. Not as much in this direction, so I guess you do have a slight flat on the edge rolling forward. And then you have this frag pattern. It's a very tight, kind of angular frag. I don't know if you can tell, but those lines are not running perpendicular to each other. There's a little bit of cant to the verticals. So that provides just a nice texture, and the switch has a nice texture as well, making this pretty ergonomic and solid in hand. You don't really feel like it's going to go anywhere. Unless you had like really wet hands or loose gloves, you're probably not going to have any issues with this. Loose gloves definitely are a thing. I had the EMP EDC Pulse in recently, and I work at a restaurant, so wearing nitrile gloves, or the black latex gloves that we have, it was definitely a little slick to use the switch. This one was better than that for sure, and I think that has a lot to do with the handle shape, because it is fairly ergonomic with these grooves. It's very subtle, but it's enough to kind of lock in those upper two fingers, right where the swell is, to come in right in between the middle and ring finger and stay very comfortable in hand and easily locked in. You also have that swell down here by the pinky, so when you do want to deploy this, you kind of brace up against that. The seatbelt cutter is something that I personally will never use, but if you're somebody who is an EMT or something along those lines where you might have to cut a seatbelt and you don't want to worry about using a blade on someone, then it's there. It's an option. It's something that most people don't ever have to worry about, but for those who need it, it is on here, though I think a dedicated tool is probably better off for you. But I'm not going to be the one to say it's never been used before and it's useless, because it certainly has a purpose, and I would like to assume it works well for that purpose, though I've never tested it myself and have no real good way of testing it either. But it does look like a nice sharp blade, kind of chisel ground. I think you can see the bevel on that side, and then just a micro bevel on this side. You can see where it's a little lighter. So a nice sharp edge on that seatbelt cutter, ideally. And so, you would hope it will work great. Other than that, guys, I don't have a whole lot to say. Sorry, I just got shit in my eye here. Yeah, this is a pretty good OTF. It fires hard and it feels good in hand. There's another one of these that's going around the pass around group, but it's not the Grunt. It is essentially the same thing minus the seatbelt cutter, and I don't know the name of it, and I'm not sure I'm going to find it on their website very quick. But I will take a look. The Stinger, man? No, it's not the Stinger. The Bulldog, that's the name. So the Bulldog is currently going around pass around as well, and it's the same price, and it's the same size, so it's a little bit shorter overall, because they do take this this seatbelt cutter off. So if you're looking for something very similar, there is going to be another one available from Takcom. That is the Bulldog, that drops off the seatbelt cutter here. Also shortens the handle a little bit, but that would probably just fit my hand if you cut that guy off on the end. But yeah, that is an option for you if the Grunt is not up your alley. With that, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing my thoughts, and please let me know what you think down below. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much, and take care.